The Proton Pack is not a toy.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Proton Pack is not a toy. My name is Matt, and today I'm going to be continuing my Mack's factory thrower build. And I have the latest package that came a couple of days ago from Mack's factory with the most recent part that has become available. And that is the Neutrona wand trigger box. So this is how the packaging looks. Not only did I get that, but I also picked up something that I could have taken care of before, but that would be the banjos for the, if you want to call it, the business end of the thrower there. I know you guys are mostly here for the Neutrona wand trigger box. That one, some of you may be a little upset that I have one. They did sell out almost immediately, especially the black versions. And, you know, I was fortunate to be able to pick up one of those. They did sell out quickly. He just had a limited amount that were available through this run. And they will be back and available on the shop very soon. His supplier is from overseas, and because of the holiday for the Chinese New Year, there was only so many that they could get done and shipped over before that. So my understanding is just might have to wait a couple of more weeks, and then you should be able to purchase them and get those in your hands pretty quick. From the day that I purchased mine, it was available, or it was like in the mail and in my hands within like 3 or 4 business days. So it does not take long for them to show up once you get them on order. He's quick at turning them around. Last I saw, the black anodized version sold out a lot quicker than the raw metal version. And I do not know, but you can check the shop and see if there might still be some raw ones that are available, if that is something that you are interested in, if you need to get one real quick. But I would say, you know, hang on a second. Not everything's available anyway, so there's really no need to be in a huge rush to take care of that. Fun thing that I want to note about the, I don't know if I need to trim this at all. I can't remember how long it's supposed to be. But with the banjos, this does feel like a lot. So I might need to trim it. I'm not going to do it now. I'll go back later and trim it if I need to. If you're ever putting it's not a wire, what's the term for it? The tubing into the banjos, you get it all the way in there. You're like, okay, how do I get it out? I've seen some people that have had questions about that online. Once it's in there, if you just push down on this little insert part and pull away, then the tubing comes out. Got to put a little force into it, but it's not much. You don't really have to really hammer it down to be able to get it to come out. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the whole kit and caboodle in there just to get it in there, and I'll measure and change it later. Again, I'm looking at reference pictures and using the Ghostbusters 1 Spengler as the one that I want to copy for mine, for my entire build. And yeah, that does look like a lot. So let's pop Mack. So I could probably take about half of that out. But again, I'll go back and measure. It might actually say in the instructions how long it's supposed to be, if it does need to be trimmed, or if that's the full length. But to me, that feels like a lot. Compare that to my Vinkman over here. Not to say that this one is completely correct, but there is quite a bit of difference in length. Maybe a couple inches off would make a difference. That's enough about that. You guys are here for the trigger box. This is really the main last piece that is missing for the wand, the thrower, except for the handles, the grips, right? Some of the inside parts, the electronics, the light caps, hat lights, things like that obviously need to be added as well. But as far as hardware goes, this is kind of what we're still needing to be able to finish the project. And once we get that, it's kind of off and running. We're pretty good with the thrower, and then hopefully attention will be turned back to the stuff that we need to complete the shell, right? So I dropped a few things. Okay, so my hardware here are the Allen wrench and all of the cap screws that are involved in this build. There's going to be extras because you have options for a certain part of this build. You get 3 Allen wrenches of different sizes and lots and lots of socket head cap screws. Some of them are not socket head, they are the rounded top ones. And there's a difference in that because you get to make your own decision as far as how you want to cover the back of the outer trigger box that goes off to the side. Now on the Ghostbusters hero packs from Ghostbusters that got also used in Ghostbusters 2, there was no opening on the back as there is here. So if we're going to be completely accurate as much as we can be, then having the screws that are showing on the back here are going to be taking away a little bit of that accuracy. But once you have it all ready to have all the switches and the buttons and everything set up in there, if you want to putty that over and put a little paint over it, then that would take care of that look there, so you don't see the little trap door on the back. They were used with trap doors on the back in the semi-hero packs from Ghostbusters 2, as well as packs that were built for Afterlife and Frozen Empire. And that's the reason that we have a few different variations of these. So one of them is going to be the covering from the front. That's the same for all of them. But there are 2 different ones with different screw hole sizes. I don't know if you'll be able to see if I put in the background. So that's got small. This has larger hole sizes. 4 of those. The one in this hand is a little bit wider. And then there's another one that only has 2. So I believe the one that only has 2 is if you're building a Ghostbusters Afterlife pack, that's the one you would want to use. And then if you are building the Frozen Empire pack, or if you want it to be a idealized Ghostbusters or Ghostbusters 2 hero pack, you would use the one with the bigger holes, because these are kind of drilled out, so it would be inset in there to be flush. And then the other one would be your back plate for Ghostbusters 2 semi-hero build. So since mine is going to be a Ghostbusters 1 hero build, I will be using that variation. So in the instructions it should say, oh, by the way, inside I've got my decals and these water slides. I can't remember what they are, but all of that is in there ready to go for your labeled application. So I am going to wait. I'm still not putting any labels. The only ones I've put on so far have been the ones that are on the very bottom on the gun track. Other than that, I haven't put any labels on permanently on any part of this build. I'm kind of waiting to decide if I'm just going to do an all over paint job, or if it looks okay without it, I might just go as is, since all the metal parts are going to be pretty matchy here. All right, I misspoke a minute ago. So the proper title for these are dry rub transfers. So not water slides, obviously. I've used those before on different projects, so that's the term that came to mind, but obviously this is not a water slide. And then you do have the regular labels here. Inside the manual, it does show you the different places to put all of that stuff. Also, it notes that before you put the trigger box onto your build, you need to have the lever here installed. So if you've not already done the front handle assembly with a pop mechanism, do that first, because you're not going to be able to get that L-shaped bar all the way through if this is in the way. Pretty simple there, right? So a couple of notes there just to start. This is going to be pretty quick and easy. Just got to make sure that I separate the screws to different piles so that I know what I have. And you're going to need 4 to attach the main plate. I still have in the plastic. So the plate that goes on the front of the instrument bar. This one is bigger. You're not going to mistake it for the other ones. It's a different shape, different size, same shape, obviously rectangle, but different dimensions. Only has 2 holes, and that's going to go onto the front here. Try to get a little glare from the light above us. So that goes there. The good news is the screws that attach it, the main box, are on the inside. So you have places to put the screws here, and then you attach that to the wand through a couple of holes right here, and you don't have to take off the bottom plate. I was wondering if we would have to take that off. We should be able to put that straight on without having to remove the gun track. So I've got those 4 screws separated, and that's going to use the largest of the Allen wrenches that come with the set. And so I'll line the slotted clearance holes with the trigger box with the mounting holes on the Neutrona wand body, and secure the trigger box with number 6-32 by 1/4 inch screws, and tighten using the hex key. So you've got 4 of these. These are going to be the larger of the screws that are in the set, so you're not going to be able to accidentally put the wrong ones in. Later on, the other ones are pretty interchangeable, so you might have to be careful with that. But as far as these go, it's going to be pretty simple. So I'm going to take care of that real quick and then show you what it looks like. I want to try to show you here on the inside if I can. There, I don't know if you'll be able to see inside here. There's a little play back and forth. They're not circles on the instrument bar. There's a little, it's kind of a slot more than a circle. So you've got a little bit of play back and forth. So I'm going to try to keep mine as snug up against the green tubing here on this side, but that helps to be able to move it around a little bit. There may be a little variation between each of the packs, so you might want to check out the reference photos to see how closely each of the wands lines up next to that green lever there for your trigger. So I've got it pretty close, and I've still got no issue with that operating correctly. So that's on there. So I just need to put the cover plate on. If you're going to go ahead and put the labels on as you go, be sure you take care of that probably before you even do this step, because there is a danger label that goes here that is partly obscured by the cover plate. That is something that I'm going to not worry about and take care of later. These are just screwed on there, so they're easy to go back later and put those on there as needed. Now, when we do end up having electronics and stuff, this is a portion where there's a lot of lights and switches. And the main reason that it's handy to have the plate here on the front, as well as on some of the builds it's accurate, some of it's not, plate on the back, is because if you've ever done a build where there's not access on the back of that one and you're trying to get the switch and the push button up here coming through this hole on this side with your finger and trying to put it in place there and hold it as you screw on the little front washer, not washer, but the front, you know what I'm talking about, the front piece there to mount the switches, then that is a pain in the tail. So having this access panel here is 100% a lifesaver as far as putting those on there and not crushing your finger and cursing a lot, because I remember that being the worst part of the previous build that I did. That one did not have an access panel, it was just a block, and getting up in there was not fun. And if you've got, and I've got decent sized fingers, if you've got ones that are bigger than mine, then it would have been like a no-go. So that's all set there with the front panel. Now, when we, like I said, when we do get electronics, you can open this up and help put all that stuff in there. And I'm going to figure out which of these screws go with mine. I believe it does actually show in here. So it shows and gives you an idea of which one goes to which kind of build, depending on which movie you are trying to replicate. If you don't particularly care, then you can just pick your favorite. I am going to go with the ones that are the countersunk screws. So I should have 4 of those. And then that should be pretty easy to install, and then I'll be done. And I'll have these extra screws that I can use for different builds. So I do have these 4 countersunk ones. There's also 4 that are the button head type. And then you get 4 that are the normal socket head cap screws. These are the teeny tiny ones. I'm trying to find a place where I can show them to you. So they're very, very small. But save them, put them in a baggie. You will need them later for something, I promise. And you'll be happy that you hung on to them, because some of these smaller ones are harder to find in like the hardware stores or the places where we tend to try to look for these things. I believe this one's going to use the smallest of the Allen wrenches. It's such a tiny hole. Yep. And so you can tell by looking at it up close that one side is countersunk while the other one isn't. So I'm going to be obviously putting these screws through the countersunk part of it. So this one seats flush in here. If I were to put the other ones in that are a little thicker, you might be able to see that it does set up a little bit higher. Try to get a little light on that. Everything being black makes this hard to video sometimes. So try to get a light on that one. So again, this is another one of the ones that is a little bit thicker. So you're doing a GB1 or GB2 hero build, You're going to want the thinner one with the countersunk holes. And then later, if you, like I said, you want to go back and try to hide that in your own creative way, then you can kind of decide how accurate you want that to be. As of now, for me, this is fine. As I kind of get into the details later on, when I kind of have all the parts ready to go and this is about done, I might make some different decisions and maybe putty up the holes that are there. Okay, just for full disclosure, I went ahead and took off the whole assembly just to be able to make sure that I could get that last screw in on the back. That bolt was kind of being obstructed by the side discs over here, and to be able to turn the Allen wrench, I was worried about scratching the side of it and stuff. And so, and really to be able to torque it down and to get it as flush as I could on those screws, as you can see, they do still stick out just a hair, but I don't want to strip them out. So being able to really torque them without worried about scratching anything, I thought it was good to just go ahead and take this part off and then be able to take care of that back plate. The instructions do show attaching the whole assembly first and then doing the back plate, but to me it does make sense to do it this way. Go ahead, put the back plate on there, and then the whole assembly. Now, when you do get your electronics kit, if you're waiting to do that later, obviously if you're going to have to take this stuff off to get the back plate off, to get those components inside, then you may have to make that decision on whether you want to take the whole assembly off or you just want to try to get to it from the back side while it's all attached. That might be a decision we have to make later on as we continue on with this build. But for now, that was kind of the easy way to do it. Again, I think I could torque them down a little farther, but I don't want to strip them out. Now, the other thing I was thinking about as I was taking this off was I also want to screw in the little clippered barb here, and that goes right here, and that's going to be easier for me to attach by screwing it around like this rather than kinking up the tube after it's all connected. So I'm going to go ahead and secure that down here and get that pretty tight, and then go back and loop that around and reconnect that the way that I had it. So that's how the green tubing will look once I get it all put back together. And I believe these are nice and tight. Yep. So that is good to go now. Make sure this connects. All right. As far as this build goes for today, it's pretty cut and dry. The instructions are really helpful with that. Again, though, you may change the order, like I said, of putting that back plate on first before doing the whole assembly attached to the thrower. But man, that really helps to complete the look. I don't have this silly green tube flopping around anymore. That helps to hold that. Get a couple of grips on this sucker, and we are going to be in good shape. And again, like I said, I'm going to double check the length I need for my tubing up here, but I am pretty happy with how this bad boy is looking. So the new piece we put on there today, the trigger box, instrument bar, and again you can see the back plate on it right there. So it's looking really sharp. So really happy with how this build is turning out. Again, Mack's Factory is where you need to go. As if you didn't know already, know. And again, grateful that he is producing these great parts for us, mass producing them in a way where as they come out, we can all benefit from having very similar parts that are interchangeable with the handy guides to be able to help show us how to put it together. There's really not a whole lot of guessing that goes on. So it's a good build, and I'm excited to be able to get it completed hopefully sometime soon. Thank you guys so much for checking this out today and watching this video. I will be back within a few days, hopefully. Maybe next week I'll have something new for you guys. It won't be a build video, but maybe something else that I've got in mind. And appreciate you sticking with me this long. If you made it this far, make sure you like the video and share it with some of your friends if you like. If you know that they're into the Mack's factory build, if they haven't gotten the parts yet, or if you haven't gotten it yet, maybe this would be helpful for you as you're awaiting your parts arrival. And best of luck to you if you're working on one. And it's fun to have a community that's all working on kind of the same build at the same time. That's enough rambling. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.
The Proton pack is not a toy.